Welcome to AM Talk. Though the Privileges Committee finds Member of Parliament for Asin Central Kennedy Agyapong guilty for calling Ghana's parliament cheap and useless, he walks free. Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak dragged Kennedy Agyapong to the Privileges Committee for calling Parliament useless and cheap. The House approved the recommendation to reprimand him instead of suspending him. Before we bring you what happened in Parliament, let's listen first of all to the Member of Parliament.
Parliament nefu. Na me a small boy na. E bra me mabo James aso abobia. Me Parliament am meduane ni 11,000 cedis. Parliament 107.1.
However, Kennedy Agyapong insisted he never said Parliament was useless.
Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, this House having found you liable for contempt before it takes any sanction against you, whether by way of suspension, by way of apology, or in any manner whatsoever as this honorable court may find fit. We want to hear briefly from you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me opportunity to speak on the issue. Today is the first day the entire House is here to hear my side of the story. I have said that to the committee, and I want to repeat that some of the things that were said in the tape, they did not get the understanding clear.
Honorable members.
Before I apologize, I want to explain what exactly happened. I plead with the House to remove the word Parliament is useless, because I never said that Parliament is useless. And today, tomorrow, I'll still insist that I never use the word that Parliament is useless. The presenter did not allow me to finish. The moment I said Parliament, because Parliament is cheap, he didn't allow me to finish and he cut it. What I meant was that if Parliament is not cheaping, the first vice chairman could not go on air and insult me like that, a member of Parliament. But the presenter cut it. So when you listen to the voice with anger and everything, I could not articulate my issues clearly. That is how it is seen. So I want to state clearly that I respect Parliament and I would never disrespect Parliament. Nobody is above the law. I don't feel shy apologizing, because the first day I did apologize. You know, Honorable Muntaka made this allegation. I was never given opportunity even to cross-examine him. I have to go there because it's going on record.
Honorable Agyapong.
I was never given opportunity.
Yes. Those who admit guilt and ask for forgiveness are very, very circumspect in the statements they make thereafter. And I will advise you.
Thank you very much.
In circumspect.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member, first of all, is challenging your committee's report. That is one. Secondly, the prefix is apology with if conditional. So, and Mr. Speaker, you rightly advise that you should take notes and give the apology unconditionally. And then he sat down. So it is not clear if he has taken your advice to apologize unconditionally. So, Mr. Speaker, if we can give him the opportunity to come again, because the apology that he rendered, the apology that he rendered is conditional. It's conditional.
And to reprimand is to in fact say, go and sin no more. All those in favor of reprimand say aye. Those against reprimand say no. The ayes have it. And this honorable house has adopted the pathway.
We bring you some reactions to that decision. Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak says the decision is disappointing.
Well, that's the decision of Parliament. I mean, in Parliament, you always don't get what you really want. But I'm worried and disappointed because if the kind of things that he keeps doing, and this is the kind of apology that he renders and Parliament accepts it, well, we are all in the House, and the House decision, if you want to challenge it, you have to come properly. I don't intend to challenge it. I have nothing personal against him, but I'm disappointed because I thought that we are not helping our democracy in any way with the way we are running our House. That's all I can say for now.
No, disappointed as well. You think the apology wasn't sincere enough?
I don't know whether when you read it, you thought that was an apology. I don't see that as an apology. Okay. That was just an apology. That was no sincerity. I don't see the sincerity. He was virtually justifying almost everything that he did.
So that for you, better sanction, maybe a suspension should have been applied?
Not necessarily. Even if you wanted to reprimand him, you needed to get a proper apology. Because look, even in my view, looking at the way he continued to conduct himself, even with an apology, you would rather give him a shorter suspension. Maybe a week or two, just to send a signal that he must stop what he's doing.
And you know what they say in Parliament, right? Minority can have their say and majority will have their way. At the end of the day, it's the majority that rules. Joining me in the studio this morning is Vice Chair of the Privileges Committee. This is the committee that looked into this matter. This is the committee that presented its report to the House and gave two options. The Speaker chose one and then zeroed in to what we saw and then go and sin no more. Andrew Agyapong is Member of Parliament for 2nd D. He sits on the Privileges Committee and the Communications Committee. I think on this occasion, it's the privileges that will rule. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mama.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yes. Is this what you were hoping as a committee when you put together the report? Was this the ending that you pictured from the beginning?
Well, good morning to our cherished viewers, of course, your good self. I was in no position to have preempted what plenary would do. And so to ask whether this was what I expected.
As a committee? Well, you gave two options. You said suspend or reprimand.
Well, because of course, that decision itself was put to a vote. And it was contained in our report that 20 members on the day out of 36 attended the meeting. And when we finished our deliberations, clearly the law prescribes 3 types of sanctions: expulsion, suspension, or reprimand.
What reprimand means what?
Well, it's, if you check
the definition
okay. Of reprimand.
Derek Akosa, my producer, please look for the definition of reprimand for me. And then we can share it.
Let me assist you. It says that it's a formal expression of disapproval. And clearly, that's exactly what Parliament did yesterday. It expressed its formal disapproval of the comments that Honorable Kennedy Agyapong had made.
And simply said, go and not do it again.
No, but of course, I mean, that is the sanction that is prescribed in law. That in itself is, if you like, demeaning enough.
Is it?
Of course.
Could it have been something else?
I disagree.
Could something else constitute reprimand?
You see, we live in this country, Mama B, and let's not forget, when Black Rasta appeared before the Privileges Committee, following his allegation that members of Parliament smoke weed, and he was hauled before the Privileges Committee. The sanction that was given him then was a reprimand.
He's not a member of parliament, first of all.
No, but you see the mandate of the Privileges Committee cut across both members and non-members of parliament. Any Ghanaian citizen who brings the image of parliament into disrepute can be hauled before the Privileges Committee. And the sanctions that are applicable are what I've indicated. And so, if in the case of Black Rasta, a reprimand, which was in the nature of an apology, remorse, and being asked to go and sin no more, was sufficient, I fail to see how we think that in the case of Kennedy Agyapong, it is insufficient.
I'm not sure that's what we are suggesting.
Well, of course, you played the tape from Honorable Muntaka. Clearly, he wishes that something more should have been done. And I disagree, because clearly the committee came to the conclusion that either of the sanctions, and indeed, if the vote had tilted one way, the chairman of the committee on the day elected not to exercise his casting vote and to leave the tie, as it were, for plenary to take a decision. Assuming he had exercised his right to cast the vote and it had tilted in the way of suspension, that exactly is what the recommendation would have contained. But in this case, there was a tie, and he said, okay, let's take it to the plenary and let plenary take a decision. And that's exactly what happened. I mean,
did he explain why he
for me,
he didn't take part in the vote as chair of the committee?
I guess that if I recall, he voted as a regular member, each one of us having a vote. And when there was a tie, the chairman obviously could have exercised discretion in voting one way or the other, additional, but he elected not to. And so that's what happened. But you see, I think that the entire process in itself, because if I'm taking through this process, clearly it wouldn't be exciting to me. Because
there's another one pending, but because I asked for reprimand, you read from your phone a formal expression of disapproval, rebuke, reproof, admonition, reproach, reproval, scolding. Okay, so lots of synonyms there. Address a reprimand to. Okay, so now we get it. But there's another pending issue, isn't it? Still with Kennedy Agyapong before the committee, correct?
Yes. That has been stood down because he's filed an application for the speaker to set aside the referral. Indeed, it's the same Honorable Muntaka who filed a complaint against him, this time in relation to the Ahmed Swale video, and has asked that Honorable Kennedy Agyapong be sanctioned for bringing Parliament into disrepute, because according to him, the video that he showed was the basis or the immediate or remote cause, if you like, which led to the unfortunate murder of the investigative journalist. And so Mr. Speaker referred the matter to the Privileges Committee to conduct an investigation into. On the day of the hearing, his lawyers brought to the notice of the committee.
As in Kennedy Agyapong's lawyers?
Yes.
Okay.
That they had filed a motion, and indeed, per the rules of Parliament, the only way that a speaker's decision can be challenged is by way of motion. And so they had complied with the rules of Parliament, filed a motion seeking to challenge the referral that the speaker had made. We at the committee felt that in itself ought to be determined before the proceedings will continue. And so we stood down the matter, and we are awaiting the determination of his application before the plenary. And if the speaker rules that we should continue, or that his referral was indeed not grounded in law, then that will be the end of the matter. If the ruling is to the effect that we ought to continue with the proceedings, absolutely. As we did in the past, our duty is to conduct an impartial investigation, impartial determination of the issues, and submit our recommendations to the entire House to determine which way to go. And so you can rest assured that the Privileges Committee will do its work in accordance with law and leave Parliament as a body to decide whether to, as it were, accept our recommendations or otherwise. But I think yesterday's matter really brings this matter to a definitive conclusion.
Okay, so we got here because I think the decision was that his comments had put Parliament, the image of Parliament, brought the image of Parliament into disrepute. Does this correct it? The punishment?
Oh,
go and say no more. Does it bring back? Does it restore Parliament's image?
I don't think that the objective is to restore, because the image once battered, the person who caused that, occasioned the image of Parliament being brought into disrepute, faces consequences. And the law, in the wisdom of the framers, prescribed the types of sanctions based on the severity of the issue at stake for appropriate sanctions to be applied. Like I indicated earlier, the law prescribes, and this is the Parliament Act, I believe of 1960 Act 300 or 303, I can't remember off the top of my head, spells out clearly that when an allegation is made out, the sanction that ought to apply includes either expulsion, suspension, or a reprimand. I guess the intent is to punish and to serve as a deterrent to others who may, some way desire to commit those same offenses to desist from sin. And so I think that Mr. Kennedy Agyapong has been duly sanctioned.
So this is fair punishment?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Also joining us is Mr. Abraham Amalaba. He's a private legal practitioner and a member of the NDC. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I want to give you just a few minutes to talk about Parliament's and Kennedy Agyapong's go and say no more.
Well, once again, Parliament has lost the opportunity to rein in its own member. Once again, Parliament has disappointed the people who sent them there. Kennedy Agyapong is one person whose conduct has been questioned by every well-meaning Ghanaian, including his own constituents. It is only in this democracy that you have one person who can insult everybody from the presidency.
Are you not moving away from the issue?
What is the issue?
What is the issue?
The issue
is Kennedy Agyapong was dragged to the Privileges Committee.
For
the committee did its work for calling Parliament useless and cheap. They found him guilty. They gave the option, suspend or reprimand. The speaker went with reprimand, and he went the way he did, and he said, go and say no more.
Is it only...
That's the issue.
That's not the only issue. The man has a history. He has a reputation. I'm sure when you invited me here, my reputation came before me. I know you would have, hey, Amalba, something. I'm saying that the man has
But what was Parliament considering?
The Parliament was considering an insult, an attack on it. And I'm saying that this is not the first time Kennedy has insulted anybody in this country, including any institution. The latest was the family of the man killed, Swale. Before then was the IGP. So I'm saying that Didn't we need to come to a point and say, never again should Kennedy Agyapong behave in that way?
But Abraham, you are
But won't Parliament be going outside its scope? Because if Parliament was...
You know the rules.
You see?
So be fair.
You see?
In the application or the expectation of how the rules are.
I am crawling and you are walking.
I don't have a problem with
and you are running.
Okay, he says he's crawling.
You are
he's
running.
crawling. Let's allow him to land.
I am crawling.
But
and
like
you are
said,
running.
the issues before the committee were clear.
Mr. Malba, keep crawling.
Okay,
but
now
make it quicker for us.
Absolutely no way the committee could have gone into a foray over matters that was not before it.
Now,
fortunately, he's not a member of Parliament. So
yes,
let's listen to.
Let's be fair.
Let's listen.
You
listen
can make
to
general comments
speak.
relating to the character of the person, no problem. But when it comes to this particular matter, you cannot make those conclusions.
Mr. Malba, please land for me.
So you see the intolerance.
It's not a matter of intolerance. I'm only asking you to.
You see the fact that they cannot even take criticism. Now, you have a situation where there was an opportunity given to Parliament to sanction its own member because his conduct keeps making Parliament look bad. And when this opportunity was given to Parliament, Parliament blew it away. Let's even assume that Parliament decided to go for the second option, which is reprimand. Let's even assume, and that is within the rules. Would anybody in his right senses who watched what happened in Parliament yesterday come to a fair conclusion that the apology, the apologetic apology rendered by Kennedy Agyapong was an apology? The man was literally justifying. You heard the things he said.
Was he justifying or he was trying to explain himself?
Was not, you don't explain yourself when you have wronged a people and the people say, this is how I feel. You don't rake in new wounds.
But you heard what he said.
And I'm saying
that apologizing was not an issue, but he felt that he had not been listened to well enough. He had not explained himself. What's wrong with that?
Does he know that he was given an opportunity to do that at a committee, at wherever, at the privileges committee? Why would he then come back onto the floor? And when he was asked to apologize, look at the kind of apology he gave. A conditional apology. You heard the word if, and you heard the murmuring in Parliament. All that I'm saying is that let's brace ourselves as a people. Let's brace ourselves for more misconduct coming from Kennedy Agyapong.
Why do you say that?
I am telling you that this is not deterrent. Let's do a comparison. Mama Yarga's apology and the way the speaker took issue with Mahama Yarga when Mahama Yarga sought to give a conditional apology.
If you say I should apologize, then I apologize.
I'm saying that, look at the two. Look at how the speaker came down heavily on Mahama Yarga. It appears that wrongs in this country now have political colors. And depending on which political color you wear, you'll be treated with kid's glove. If you are a member of one political party, which is not the preferred political party, your treatment is different. And I think it's becoming worrisome. But Kennedy Agyapong, there will be a day that all these things, he will meet his match. And I think that let's all bear our teeth and say that that conduct of the member of parliament is a no, 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 no. A no, no. And so if there is opportunity to discipline him so that he will come back on track, let's ensure that we go the full haul. But I am disappointed in what happened yesterday. That was not an apology.
You think he won't learn from what has happened to him?
Never. I am saying that punishments are supposed to be deterrent. And if a punishment does not deter somebody from continuing doing what he's doing, I can tell you, Kennedy Agyapong will continue doing. This was not a deterrent punishment.
Okay, we've spent a bit of time on this because you're vice chair, and I want you to see Mr. Malaba's comments as a citizen's comments. So, as a committee,
you see, If he was an ordinary citizen speaking.
I'm an ordinary citizen.
Not learned.
What am I?
Oh, you allow me to make my point.
Don't ascribe something to me which is not
Because
true.
you are
I am an
lawyer.
ordinary citizen. But lawyers are not ordinary people.
No, I didn't say that you are not. I'm an ordinary citizen.
So what are you talking about?
The fact that I'm privileged to be a member of parliament doesn't give me any super rights. No. I'm saying that if you were not learned, if you were not trained in law, then there will be no issue with the kinds of comments that any citizen, including Mr. Amanba, makes. But he's a trained mind. He knows the rules. That the committee could only deal with the matter before it.
This man doesn't even
No
listen.
more.
He doesn't even listen.
And so to suggest that the committee should have taken advantage of the complaint before it and take into consideration all previous acts and or omissions of Kennedy Agyapong in arriving at a sanction is completely unwarranted. It's not borne out by any rule. Not at all. So if you are minded, lodge a complaint chronicling all his so-called offenses and let the speaker make a referral to the committee to investigate allegations of A, B, C, D, E, F to Z against Kennedy Agyapong. I'm sure
Are you
that
ashamed?
on those circumstances, the conclusion would have been different.
All right. On that note, I
But
want
do
us
you
to
feel
spend
ashamed?
a lot more time. I want us to spend a lot more time talking about the Commission of Inquiry.
Goes
That's
about
not the issue.
insulting people. Are you not ashamed?
That is not the issue.
So, Mr. Abba,
We are dealing with a specific
you
matter.
can petition the Speaker. Let's talk about the first day of the 30-day. I want to use limits or the time frame that's been allotted to the Commission of Inquiry that's looking into the violence during the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election. And we want to bring you some excerpts from yesterday's sitting. There was the Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry, who appeared. There's also the National Security Minister appearing as well. And then Brian Agyapong, actually waiting to hear details of what he had to say. And yesterday he did appear. Let's go back and bring you excerpts from that hearing.
We will count on the cooperation of all and sundry for the ultimate objective of investigating the violence and related incidents surrounding the conduct of the elections on the 31st January 2019.
That was how the commission's hearing commenced. Justice Short appealing for support. Interior Minister Ambrose Derry was the first to testify. He distanced his ministry from the masked men seen during the by-election.
As normally is the case, when I get any report, the reports are either simply oral through the phone, sometimes photographs and videos. So when I got the video, I forwarded it to the IGP and he says, these are not part of my men.
He further stated that police branded vehicle used by the masked men were not that of the police service.
He denied that that was not a police vehicle in use by the police. And he in fact told me, Minister, our vehicles have GP. What is the GP number? It is not our vehicle.
He wrapped up his testimony by assuring the commission his ministry was bent on dealing with political party vigilantism, which many analysts have blamed as the root cause of the violence that marred the election.
The prosecutor or lawyer, as you are saying, sentence the person, and all those are illegal and unacceptable, and they must be condemned. And we intend.
His colleague Albert Kandapa, who heads the National Security Ministry, was forthcoming with information about the masked men who were deployed on the day. He first indicated he ignored advice against testifying publicly and then shared some details on why the SWAT team was deployed.
It had been approved. The operation itself had been approved by the Director of Operations at the National Security Secretariat. I'm told, Honorable Chairman, that for this operation, they acted based on intelligence report that there were weapons in a building within the constituency where the by-election was to take place.
He shared with the commission the briefing he had received from his men who caused the assault of Nigo Pram MP Sam George.
A member of the SWAT team reminded him that, Honorable, you are causing fear and panic. It is not true that anybody died at that incident. We were there. You are causing fear and panic, and you should stop that. Apparently, the Honorable Member of Parliament did not take kindly to that, went towards where the boy was standing, the operative was standing. The operative also bet him halfway, and I understand he was hit.
He was emphatic the operatives could not have been responsible for those who got injured on the day.
Later, they also said they heard gunshots coming from within the compound of the house. Our boys then gave some 6 warning shots, which they tell me did not hit anybody. But obviously, I await the end of the investigations to find out exactly what happened and how many shots they fired and whether it did hit somebody.
Minister of State in charge of National Security, Brian Agyapong, who was the last to testify, told the commission the officer alleged to have assaulted the MP has since been excused from operational duties, with the security hierarchy availing him for possible interrogation by the police.
Let me also put on record, Madam, that I have instructed the Director of Operations to ensure that all the people, especially the one that was seen on video, to have reacted to the Honorable Member of Parliament to be removed from operation until such a and made available to the police. And yesterday, I, in my office, made sure that the commander of the unit, the CIDPP, came and took his statement. And I believe that if they deem it necessary to act on anything in the statement, including arresting the person that reacted to the minister, I believe the police will do so when they conclude their investigation. But that officer is available at any time to the police for questioning.
The Inspector General of Police and Director of Operations for Greater Accra are expected to testify before the committee on Friday.
Okay. So that's the reports. There were many other things said, when these 3 persons appeared before the committee. But let me ask, day 1 of the hearing, what do you make of how things pan out yesterday?
Well, because of yesterday's events in Parliament, I did not have the opportunity of following or listening into the Commission's hearing. But I've heard snippets, bits and pieces of the information regarding the issues that transpired there. Particularly because of my own training, and particularly because I think that the essence of why His Excellency the President set up this commission is to unravel the truth regarding what it is that actually took place there. I would rather await the conclusion of the entire process, because yes, day 1, some statements were made, some revelations were made, some confirmations were made. But then again, that in itself cannot lead to the kinds of conclusions that we would want a commission of this nature to provide for us to serve as a guide on the way forward in eliminating vigilantism and electoral violence within our body politic. I'm particularly excited that indeed His Excellency the President took the step Because I'm sure that if in the past, previous governments had done this, possibly we wouldn't have seen Ayawaso West Wuogon happen. But then again, fell on deaf ears in the past. And
so you're blaming your opponents for...
You see, no, I'm not blaming...
For how far we have come where we are today?
Absolutely. People are quick to say, trying to equalize. But, Mama V, we are building a country, okay? Incidents of this nature have occurred in the past. These are factual. And absolutely nothing was done about them.
So the NPP did not contribute to...
Mama V, I'm coming. It clearly led to embolden people. It led to people thinking that, hey, we can do whatever and get away with it. Thankfully, in this particular instance, national security indicates that, well, these are people that we deployed based on some intelligence that we've gathered. There's some dispute, which is fine, and I am expectant.
But okay, so you're a lawyer. The two of you are lawyers, which is a good thing. There's no proof. You know, what is there to show?
If you had given me a second,
for the botched operation.
If you had given me a second, I guess that my next statement would have answered your question. I said I'm expectant that all the issues will be laid bare and the truth ascertained during the course or at the conclusion of this exercise.
Okay.
People have sought to poo-poo it, particularly the NDC. Indeed, Mr. Totobi Kwache called for the president to set up an independent investigative body. You recall in his open letter. Yet they've turned around and look, it has never happened in this country for the head of state to respond to public calls in the manner that His Excellency Akufo-Addo is doing. It's a factual. Okay? Now, the president's response to public calls, legitimate. Why not? We heard them say, we don't trust the police, we don't do this. State security operatives are going to shield their own. The president set up an investigative body to get to the bottom of this matter. These same people are crying wolf.
I'll go to Mr. Malba. I'll come back to
you. How do we reconcile
on...
You see, so
what will we do with all these things that we're hearing?
That
all the things
is that the point really is this: if we continue politicizing everything like they are doing, and you saw the former president,
how are they politicizing?
So haven't you heard the calls that they are making?
First of all, Mr. Malba,
you haven't heard them.
The NDC initially decided not to participate in this commission's work. Has that position changed?
It has not changed.
What does that mean? Like, what do you mean?
The NDC, as a corporate soul, will not participate. Don't forget that the NDC, 2 days after the incident, the NDC marched to the police headquarters and petitioned the IGP to investigate.
Wait, is it the NDC or the minority in parliament?
The NDC. The NDC. Minority, I'm here for NDC. Minority is NDC.
Because the minority, I thought the minority explained that they accompanied their colleague who had been invited to...
The NDC was at the police headquarters to lodge a complaint.
Okay.
Now, the police IGP assured the NDC that it was going to investigate. And so this is a criminal matter. And surely criminal sanctions must be meted.
The commission is not stopping the police from investigating, doing
Yes. So what we are saying is that, in our view, let the police investigate. Now, we have indicated that individuals who were victims can go to the commission. But as a corporate body, we will not go because we do not think that the end result of this commission is to ensure that there's criminal sanctions. We want criminal sanctions. The commission's work will not end in criminal sanctions. Now, yesterday was again a sad day. Men in their 60s, some going to their early 70s, can lie on national television through their teeth. Men in their 60s. And I wonder what their children will be, when they are watching, they will be saying.
Who lied?
Can you imagine Kandapa saying that the NDC constituent branch executive in I'm told he says Fadama shot himself? That's what he's saying. He's saying that his men did not shoot NDC boys.
Yeah, but he also didn't say what you have said.
No, that's the interpretation. If his men didn't shoot, the man shot himself. That's what it means.
Well, so those are your words.
That's what it means.
But that's not even what he said.
We all saw this man.
Just the clip you played now.
Behave well. When you are talking,
the conclusions that he's making.
So let's allow him. Let's allow him to learn.
If you cannot, Kufuor says you should tickle yourself and be patient. Be patient. Be patient. I wasn't a mumu. Look, we all saw on TV how that gentleman was shot at. The leg was virtually, swinging, and he was carried into the pickup, the bucket. We are now told that no shooting took place and that his boys did not shoot NDC boys. That boy shot himself.
They said they fired warning shots. If you're quoting Kandapa, that's what he said.
Look at it. My men did not shoot NDC boys. This Observer.
Don't take it from the Observer. Take it from...
I shouldn't take it...
Well, JoyNews reported it. We've reported exactly what he said.
Then
and that's what we played.
Go and throw them away.
Well, I'm not asking you to look at the newspapers.
Go and throw them away. We shouldn't do anything here. You've brought us here to talk about this.
But
I'm quoting a paper.
But I've also
played that we shouldn't.
But I've also played a clip to you where you hear Kandapa say that they gave warning shots.
Didn't you say that a lot of things were said? So this is one of the things that was said which you didn't capture.
Okay.
Now, you have the Minister of Interior, Marlene Senior and Bruce Derry, say that the vehicle branded in police colors was not a police vehicle. You heard that one?
That's because he checked with the IGP.
Oh, you will not do my analysis for me. I didn't come from the house to let you re-roll my analysis.
But you can't be allowed to go out.
Did you hear?
But Mr. Malba, continue, yes.
Did you hear him say that?
He said the vehicle is not from the police.
What is it?
Please continue.
What's your problem? You heard him say the vehicle was not a police vehicle because apparently there was no GP. Now, in this country, under the Constitution, Article 200, you cannot raise a police force unless Parliament gives approval. So who is this person who is branding and painting police cars? Who is this person in this country? Painting police cars and giving it to other people who are not police.
Don't you think that the commission would resolve what you are...
I'm not going to think about anything. I'm thinking about what was said yesterday. Something was said
First of all, this is a commission that you don't believe in as NDC. But all of a sudden, you care about the things that are said before the commission.
The things that are being said today, that was said yesterday, is the reason for which the NDC boycotted. Because it's a platform created to let people come and lie, which we saw yesterday, and also...
Mr. Maba, that's not fair.
That's my interpretation of it. And then also, to let these people come and give legitimacy to the criminals they call vigilantes. The criminals. So at the end, you heard him say that, you heard him, Kandapa himself say that they are part of the national security apparatus.
Okay, let's get clarification on that. I'm not cutting you, but I want us to play Mr. Kandapa on this specific issue. We'll come back.
There is this general belief within the country, and that actually forms a conversation going around, that this group you describe as security operatives are actually part of a vigilante grouping within the new patriotic party. What do you have to say about that?
Definitely not true. Definitely not true. If the suggestion is that included in the operatives are people who normally belong to a particular vigilante group. No, that would be surprising. If some of them in the past had participated in some vigilante groups, that probably could be possible. But, Mr. Chairman, it is important to know about these political vigilante groups that we have in the country. There isn't one political vigilante group that belongs to a political party. The CDD has just come up with a study which establishes that these vigilante groups are owned by some individuals, some kingpins within the political parties. So the NPP hasn't got a vigilante group per se. There are vigilante groups that probably people associate with them. If you go into it, you will find that these are not vigilante groups of the party.
Okay, so
you heard him denying that.
That's the National Security Minister.
Yes. So you heard him indicate that.
He's brought some clarity also on the vigilante, the ownership of the vigilante group.
My concern has to do with the refusal of these government appointees to be factual.
What factual means?
Is it possible? Is it possible? Is it possible that I, Abraham Amaliba, can get up, buy a pickup, paint it in police colors, and be moving about? I've given 2 minutes for thinking. And so if you are in a country and it's possible for somebody to go to a garage and paint a police vehicle and to be running on the streets of Ghana.
That has not been established.
Oh. We have been told that their vehicle that they were using did not belong to the police.
This is what we have been told. Interior Ministry says it didn't come from police. Because he checked with IGP.
Yes.
IGP says they usually have the GP, the Ghana police number. This one didn't have. So
Mama
it's
V.
not from them.
Mama V, I did not hear
but
the
we haven't
IGP
had the,
on that commission.
No.
We are talking about what happened at the commission.
Because Interior Minister quoted IGP.
And I'm saying that the Interior Minister indicated clearly that vehicle did not belong to the police.
There's no argument.
Yes. And I'm saying that, shouldn't you be worried? Shouldn't you be worried that it is possible in this country, day and age, that you can drive a car into a garage, paint it into a police vehicle, and then hand it over to some hoodlums and criminals, and then the police will say, we don't know anything about it. It's okay. I am saying that what is coming from the commission, forget about the inconsistencies, forget about the fact that you could even see, when somebody is lying, you can see. You see you can see, you can know. Forget about that. But you know that there's danger in this country. Aren't we worried that there's danger in this country? Look, at the tail end, you may call me back here to collect my stone. At the tail end, a report will come out that the boys, the criminals who created havoc at AWW were national security operative. And that ends it. So meaning that in subsequent elections, we'll be seeing hooded people. This is the first time since the days of Gordon Gotchisberg, when elections are held in this country, that we see hooded people in polling stations. And you sit there, you want to compare. You sit there, you want to compare that there have been some infractions on polling days. But this one has taken a different dimension. This is the first time that a parliamentary candidate's house has been gone into, he has been barricaded, he cannot come out. Whilst the other candidate goes about inspecting all the polling stations. It is sad that we should allow that to happen. And I think that when violence erupts in this country, just as how people like Kofi Boachi have indicated. People like Dr. Enim has indicated. When violence erupts, it doesn't know political colors. It will eat all of us. And I think that the two political parties must come together. The president has failed to stop the vigilantism. He's a commander-in-chief. He has failed. They are still mushrooming. I think that I want to call on religious leaders, chiefs, to bring pressure to bear on this government to end this vigilantism.
We've already heard the Pentecostal and charismatic churches.
It's so sad
that they were going to hit the streets. But what's your reaction, particularly to what we heard from Kandapa about the ownership of vigilante groups? He says political parties don't own, but there are some people within the political parties who own them, and there may be. But, I mean, you can best interpret the bit about them into the National Security Service.
You know the Azoka boys, the Bamba Bulldogs, the Bolga, whatever, and all that.
But when they find themselves in national security, then that's a problem.
You see,
that's even a much bigger problem, isn't it?
You see, you recall, and I'll go back to Tripoli. The Minta gentleman who shot into the crowd and was apprehended. He claimed to be a national security operative. He was transported from the north to Accra and nothing happened. There's absolutely no justification for any electoral violence. But let's not pretend as if to say boys from political parties are not, some of them are not subsequently recruited into state security agencies.
So that's normal.
You see, and that's exactly what the National Security Minister said. That is entirely possible that some of the operatives were previously part of some of these groupings, but they have been regularized or recruited into state security apparatus. I'm not an officer of the state security, but I am honest enough to admit that this has been an ongoing trend in our country. As to whether it is something that, in any event, bear in mind that these boys are also Ghanaian, okay, who want to work. And so if they work for political parties, just as people expect appointments and all that, they expect to be recruited into security agencies. They are put out on an operation, and if there are excesses, by all means. Because if you listen to the National Security Minister, he said that the report that he's got is that they shot 6 rounds of warning shots, and that according to them they did not shoot at any NDC people. But obviously, I'm coming. Obviously, people have been wounded, and he continued to say that at the end of it, he's investigating the matter. So at the end of the investigation, we would get to know whether indeed it was only 6 shots that were made, and whether those 6 shots were only warning shots, or that indeed
so I've got a question.
These shots were directed at people.
So why have we as citizens not been updated? Like, we waited for the commission to be set up for us to be learning all these things.
Mama B, I mean, state security agencies have indicated that they are conducting an investigation. The IGP has made it categorical. The internal mechanisms at national security, of course, when people go on operation and come back, I expect
when it's so obvious that this was not coordinated, because some didn't know.
You see
the others.
You see, that is something that I fail to see why there's a confusion. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's an election security force under the command of a certain police commander. Yes.
But the man in charge of operations that day didn't know them.
So, there's no inconsistency. Okay? These gentlemen from the police, customs, immigration, navy, wherever, are in a pool deployed to monitor elections at polling stations. They are under a particular command. According to the National Security Minister, based on intelligence that they picked,
they deployed their men. Would they be known to the police commander monitoring the election?
Interior Minister will know, IGP will know.
No, I'm saying that I don't have a problem with whether you ask a question as to why they did not coordinate. It's a legitimate question to ask. But to suggest that of necessity, they should know, or that if the police commander on the day was unaware of this national security operation, that poses a problem.
But,
I disagree.
But from the top, check the hierarchy.
I don't have a problem. As to whether
so it's okay
within the workings of national security, whenever they are going to undertake any operation, they ought to call the IGP, call Minister of Interior, call Minister of Defense, call whoever and inform them. It's a question that we ought to interrogate. Okay? But the impression being created out there is that MPP people were gathered, given uniforms to go and manhandle people. That is being denied. That these are officers of state who were mandated to go on a particular exercise.
So what's the proof? You know, you went on an operation.
Proof?
Yes.
From which proof?
So you heard that somebody was hoarding some arms. But isn't it interesting that you got there, you didn't, you said the place was locked.
You see,
you didn't even have access. After all the intelligence, you have nothing. You aborted the operation.
No, I don't have a problem. Intelligence gathering, I'm not an expert in. But common sense tells me that it is possible your intelligence will fail. After all, the basis for America going into Iraq tended out to be based on some false intelligence. Possible.
So this could be?
It could be. I don't know. As we sit here, and that's the expectation that this commission would get to the bottom of that.
Because as lawyers, everything is proof, right?
Of course.
It's evidence.
But this is not law. This is intelligence. And so if, you see, my problem with us as a people, assuming that national security had not picked up any information or any intelligence, and the people who are alleged to be on motorbikes who allegedly had been moved to the candidate's residence had ended up fomenting some trouble, leading to some mayhem, we, the same people, would have blamed national security for not picking up intelligence to stop that from happening. So it's a tough business. I'm saying that by all means, if there are excesses, and there were excesses, indeed, if these gunshots came from the operatives who were deployed, we will get to know.
Okay,
this is a position that ought to be commended. For government to take a step,
lie,
unprecedented in our political history.
No, wait, hang on. What should be commended? Is it the setup of the commission?
Setting up of the commission to investigate matter, and you say that people are going to sit there to lie. You think that His Excellency the President set up the commission for people to go and embarrass themselves?
You see?
Why would they do that?
You see,
we want to get to the bottom. We want to know the truth. So we should commend government for taking this step. It has never happened before.
Now we're interrogating.
They were in government
analyzing
for 8 years.
Now we're interrogating
Mayhem
and analyzing what has been said. What has been said at the commission, Mr. Manga.
Yet they come and sit here and pontificate as if they are some angels.
I'm saying
we know your kind.
I'm saying that don't gouge out my eye. I'm saying that if you listen to
self-righteous pontificators,
a lie that has been perpetrated and was repeated at the commission is that Sam George came there with motor riders. Look, there were independent observers all over. Kodio was there. Indeed, you journalists, you were there. Nowhere in your reportage did you say that Sam
Let
George...
him show us the body of the man who has been killed. Let him show us.
Can you behave like...
You kill a man in his own house. What's his call?
Can you behave like I behave?
He was shot at. Several rounds of ammunition at him.
If they have nothing to say, this is what they do.
Fingers to type.
He wants to take
on social media
all the time. But I'll still speak.
You take these people serious.
Now
you take them serious.
Now you have a situation where they perpetrate a lie and say that is the cause of what happened. Sam George was never there with any motor riders. In fact, most of the activities at that police station were being live.
Sam George is billed to appear before the commission, so we'll hear him.
And I'm saying that in that case, don't let us talk. I'm talking about yesterday. Yesterday,
Sam George was not there.
But he said something about Sam George. So let me talk about that. And I'm saying that it has been a continuous lie, and they are perpetrating it. Now, does it justify that you have intelligence, and then you get to the scene, and you meet armless people who are not armed?
Has that been proven?
Oh, have that been proven like what?
Okay,
I think you people were there. Your journalist was there. Is Agbagba not there as usual? Agbagba would have been there. You see? So, you go and you meet people who are not armed. What does the modus operandi or the operational manual of the security agency say? That when you meet unarmed people, you open fire and shoot people, break their legs? Is that what it says?
That's your conclusion.
So, my conclusion is born out of the man whose leg is now going to be amputated. It's born out by that. Look, if in political parties, individuals have vigilante groups, what should these political parties do? To disown them. We, as a political party, for a long period, even in the last elections, there was no Azoka boys.
Mr. Abawa, you have your own guys.
I'm saying that what we decided to do is that the Hawks, you're talking about the Hawks, after we have been beaten so many times, and we had nobody to talk to, the president will not listen to us. We said that the first law of nature is self-preservation.
Mr. Abawa, you left power not too long ago.
So they can't beat us.
Who was beating you?
Ever since elections were declared in their favor, they've beaten us like that. Haven't you heard about that?
So you formed yours.
So we cried. Nobody's listening to us. And when my general secretary sent the signal, and you see, they are beating, not that we are not strong, but because we are disorientated.
This is the most hilarious show
sometimes when you are disorientated, even if you have the strength, you cannot fight back. And so our general secretary sent warning signals that, Mr. President, if you don't deal with your vigilance, we'll also form our own.
So before that, you didn't have your own?
No, that's what I'm saying, that even Azoka boys, you notice that even in the 2016 election, there was nothing like Azoka boys.
Yeah, because you're in power.
Disbanded. I'm saying, no, good. That's a good point. Now that they are in power, and they have the security, they have 4 ministers of security, they have an interior minister, they have defense minister, what is the use? Ask my people on the street will say, what is the use for you having vigilante groups? All these people are.
So now you're
even turning around.
So you're
you
saying
use your vigilante groups to beat the police people. You remember whoever? So we are not the only one being beaten. Police people are being beaten. That's the kind of country we are in now. It's not a laughing matter. And so if we have gotten to this point, insecurity everywhere, don't you think that we should hold the president accountable?
So essentially what you're doing is we're still justifying the existence of vigilantes. I've heard the bit about we have them because we have to protect the ballot box.
I'm sure.
Now we have to protect ourselves from being beaten.
I'm sure. If your neighbor constantly beats your child and people around the neighborhood do not come to intervene, you would ask your child one day to stand up. I'm saying that the first law of nature is self-preservation. And that's why mad men don't even cross the street anyhow. Because they have to preserve their life to continue to be mad.
So let's come to a conclusion. And let's finish up with the vigilante. So there's more, I hear more justification.
Somebody has a responsibility to do that.
There are people calling for
that's the president.
Let's disband. IGP is speaking now. I wonder, who is going to do it?
There's a commander-in-chief. When we vote for somebody who must seek our welfare.
He can disband the vigilante groups?
Give
those that exist within the NDC and the NPP?
Yes. He can give an honest order. Not the order that he will give and hide behind and not do anything. Because for me, if you give an order to an IGP, which he has been doing every day, and nothing happens. I remember there was one day he was in Asante Hini's palace giving orders, not knowing the boys were another place. That same day. Remember those things. If you are honest with your orders, and these things will continue, Mr. President, fire the IGP so that we all know that the IGP is the
Thank you very much, Mr. Malba. Andrew Agyapong, I'll give you the last say on the us getting these groups disbanded, but it doesn't sound like we will get there. I mean, with all the things, and who is supposed to do it?
Well, I think we'll get there because increasingly the trend, and you see, Mr. Maliba talks Commander-in-Chief, yes, because now His Excellency the President is the Commander-in-Chief, and so I expect him to lead. There's no question whatsoever. But we've had Commander-in-Chiefs in the past. No?
Can we move forward?
You recall when they arrested I'm coming. You recall when they arrested some people, South Africans who had come to train some NPP security.
He's even admitting that they came to train, you see?
You recall? At the time, there was no Commander-in-Chief. At the time, who could have disbanded vigilante groups? Mama, the point that I'm making.
You denied them.
I said they. You recall that allegation. I'm not saying that it was indeed a fact that is what took place. The point that I'm making, and you see, not to score political points or to equalize, but to point out the insincerity on their part.
Okay, so finally, where do we go from here?
So, like I said, I expect that His Excellency the President will lead, as is done on many other fronts. And so,
in this case, that won't just be by word, so no, because we've heard I have directed this person to do this.
I agree.
IGP
you see, Mama,
yesterday listening to Kandapa that this was his biggest challenge. Everybody is complaining. Who solves it?
Excuse me, it's a process. Except that I expect that it ought to be done quickly, or quicker enough before we get to the heat of the elections, so that this country doesn't degenerate into any kind of crisis.
But did you hear?
Thank you very much.
They would wish for us to get there.
Thank you for the
because if you listen to the former president,
did you hear
Mr. Mahama?
Did you hear the leaders of the vigilante groups saying that they brought them to power, and for that matter, they cannot be disbanded?
Thank you very much, Mr. Malaba, for your time as well. Andrew Agyapong.